So for many years now, there's been the age-old debate between which is better, MMA or boxing. And boys, after last night, we finally done it. MMA is officially better than boxing. You can have all these old, washed-up, retired MMA guys get embarrassed in boxing all you like, but Ngannou had enough. The man at the age of 37 who started MMA late, got humbled, had to go take time out to train on wrestling and cardio, decides to try boxing for a bit of fun, and beats the world heavyweight champion. Well, not officially, of course, but let's be honest, Ngannou's the real winner here, along with MMA, while Fury just makes a mockery of boxing. My man's throwing Superman punches. He's stuffing Fury's takedowns. He's eating his elbows like they're nothing. Fury think MMA gonna help him? So with that being said, there's no better time to slander boxing than right now. So we're gonna go through why boxing sucks and MMA is simply superior. Though I don't mean actual boxing. The sport is cool and respect to the boxers, but the old geezers in charge, they're running it into the ground. And MMA is still better, of course.
Lou, what do you think of UFC?
I'm not a big fan, but I tend to agree with Joe that it seems to have a fan base. It's one company dominating an entire industry. My guess is that as long as I can continue to get young white guys to watch, they're gonna be there for a long time.
Now, the way MMA's run isn't perfect, and if you're a fan of both sports, you have to, at the very least, admit UFC is a key part in demonstrating how shit boxing can get. But to be completely honest, I kind of understand them underestimating UFC back in the day. I mean, you got a guy with one glove, you got no weight classes, you got a guy winning with jiu-jitsu. What the fuck's jiu-jitsu, and why is anyone gonna want to watch that shit?
My guess is that as long as I can continue to get young white guys to watch, they're gonna be there for a long time.
Now, who is this guy as a fucking cracker to tell us that young white guys are going to love this sport? No, just younger people are going to like it because it's not stuck in the 1900s like boxing. While you're there enjoying UFC, you got that annoying ass uncle telling you how disgusting it is and how better boxing is because they had fucking Ali back in the 70s. Get over yourself. Your biggest boxing star this year was KSI. Maybe not the biggest, but you get my point. As cheesy as it may be, Dana getting, guys like the Nelk Boys and Aiden Ross to work with the UFC as much as they are.
Hi, Sean.
It targets a different set of demographic, to be fair. I mean, children, but, it's something. I don't know who the fuck's watching an Aiden Ross stream gonna buy a pay-per-view for the UFC, but they're trying.
NHL told us if Nelk Boys is involved, we don't want anything to do with it.
We're to actually
Fuck them. They're all old, dumb fucking people that have no idea what's going on. They have no idea where this younger generation is, how you reach them, any of that shit. So all these people that are talking shit out there, it's all old, dumb fucking journalists. NHL don't want the Nelk Boys? No problem, I got them.
Here I was thinking UFC press conferences were getting worse. Sick of these MMA media members going into press conferences trying to make a character for themselves with their main character syndrome.
Get out of my arena! Get out of here! I'm out of here! Get this clown out of the building!
All members asking boring-ass questions. All the ones asking these stupid-ass questions.
Australians are calling for a public holiday. If all 5 Aussies win, what's your message to our Prime Minister to get that over the line? That's for you, Dana. Yeah, you. What's your message to our Prime Minister to get a public holiday if all 5 Australians...
And then you compare it to Ngannou Fury, for example, and it's like everything UFC does is better. I'm watching this Fury and Ngannou press conference. It took nearly 2 hours for one of them to be able to say something on the mic. First, you have to sit through all these undercard press conferences, which, let's be honest, on boxing cards, who the fuck cares about the undercards? I mean, don't get me wrong, UFC has some stinkers, but overall, it's much better than boxing. Then Ngannou and Fury come out, so you have to listen to Frank Warren, Bob Arum, the coaches, Tyson's dad. You might as well get Ngannou's uncle on stage at this point. Whereas with UFC, I mean, they'll give you a little 20 to 30 minute wait, mate. Sometimes 40 minute wait if they're pushing it. But then they get the fighters on stage, just the fighters. We don't have John Kavanagh on stage telling Mike Brown what they've been training on. No, it's just McGregor telling Dustin shit like this.
Joe Lee's wife! Joe Lee's wife! Joe Lee's wife!
Granted, you'll have some dumbass in the crowd ask Dana a couple pointless questions. But that's about, you don't have 2 promoters on there. What's going on here? Can you please get off stage? And how the fuck is Bob Arum still running shit? I mean, who would ever want to see a contender tell the champion in some heroic speech how he jerks his dog off and everything wrong with him?
I live a good life. I do fucking good things. I'm not jerking my fucking dog off, swearing allegiance to China, shitting on my ex-girlfriend.
That's not fun. Listening to Bob Arum is fun.
Goddamn, I'm proud of who the fuck I am. Are you proud of who you are?
But hey, it's not all about the press conferences. It's not like those are going to sell a fight. Nah, it's all about the events. And my God, was Fury and Ngannou a chore to get through. I get people may say, oh, but it's an exhibition, gimmicky event. Fair enough. Although, I hate to break this to you. That's boxing now. That's been boxing for the last few years. Some of the biggest stars in boxing include Jake Paul, KSI, and Tyson Fury, who may be the heavyweight world champion. But he's taking time out of his career to have a pro fight with Ngannou. Without the belts on the line. You don't even know when events start, so you have to ask your friends, or you got to search through like 4 different websites before it gives you a time.
What the fuck?
And then even then, you don't know when the fight that everyone cares about starts. So you probably tune in after the co-main event. But then there's 2 hours till the main event. I could watch John Wick and a bit of John Wick 2 in that time. But what do they have in store for you? Dead air, shots of Ronaldo, and 10 different concerts that not a single person ever asked for. I don't think a single person's ever bought a pay-per-view hoping for a concert to be in there. Though, to be fair, the ring rising from the stage was pretty... I'll give him that. That was pretty cool. Also, these paid celebrities in the crowd, I just don't care. I mean, the boxing and MMA legends, that was cool. They seem like people that would be interested in going. But having guys like Ronaldo, Kanye, Eminem, I've never seen Ronaldo ever show an interest in... If Ronaldo wanted to go to an event like this, he would have been already. He wasn't at McGregor Floyd. He wasn't at any of the biggest actual fights for boxing or MMA. I've never seen it. And there's what are these billionaires cheering for? It's like they're running a game of Squid Game. The crowds suck. I want poor people that are putting their life savings into going to one event and they're cheering for their lives. But thank God for Ngannou, because he actually made it worth sitting through by making it interesting, by basically winning the fight. If it wasn't for that, this could have gone down as maybe the worst event we've sat through. I understand that I'm cherry picking with this one specific offense, but it's literally the last one I've just watched. On top of that, there's going to be more like this if we're being real. And boxing's standard pacing is still bad. UFC's ain't great, but it's better than boxing. There's early finish in UFC. You're waiting an extra 10 minutes till the next fight. You could watch a co-main. You're not going to have time to watch a movie and a bit of another one before the main fight starts. Bet you're going to be able to take a shit, and then by then, Bruce Buffer's probably speaking. And you know what? While I'm already in the trenches of bashing on boxing, I might as well just throw this hot take out there for boxing fans that I've seen cope about this. But Bruce Buffer is miles better than Michael Buffer. In his prime, maybe he was that guy. I don't know. Maybe I've been watching too many YouTuber events that he's been at, and he just genuinely doesn't want to be there. But whenever I see him, it looks like he doesn't want to be at these events. It looks like he wants to be home watching UFC, doing something better with his time. Then you got Bruce warming up like he's trying to fight himself, doing these little things with the fighters here and there. Looks like he actually loves the sport and his job, and just screaming his little heart out, bless him. I will admit that criticizing the announcers isn't the most important thing in the world. I guess we're just going to have to come to terms with the fact that I guess UFC clearly has the better one. You know, it's whatever. I guess we're going to have to accept that. More important things to be criticizing being like how it's just kind of accepting boxing being corrupt. You hardly ever get the fights everyone wants, and even if you do, they could take years to make. We just had Volkanovski versus Makhachev, champion versus champion on 12 days notice. You ain't ever getting that in boxing. Granted, that it was a terrible decision to make, but still, it was fun. Now, I don't know the reasoning or logistics behind this one, so I'll try to be a bit lenient with my criticism on this. But I hate the rounds in boxing. Why are they so short, and why is there so many? It makes judging harder, which already in boxing is worse. And on top of that, there's times you'll be watching a round and it picks up at the end and then that's the round done. Oh, it's over now. Minute rest, on to the next one. Might happen again. Or even worse, if you're a boxing fan that hates on grappling and MMA, try watching a boxing match that's a clinch fest. I'd rather slam the door of my balls for 12 rounds than watch that shit. We all watched KSI Tommy Fury, let's admit it. That was dreadful. You got too many weight classes, too many belts, to the point of confusion. I have friends that are boxing fans. They can't even explain some of this shit. Also, the belts look hideously ugly. Maybe I'm just hating and I'm being petty for the sake of it. But these belts, in my opinion at least, these belts look terrible. If you become a champion and you win all 20 belts in one night and they wrap these around your waist and shoulder, take them off. They look terrible. Trust me, they don't look good.
This is garbage. I can say I bled for garbage.
Just because it has legacy doesn't make it better. It's time to move on. Whereas UFC just simplifies everything. You have like 12 divisions for both the men and women. There's only one belt. I guess there's 2 belts if we include that cringy BMF one. But hey, it was a nice thought of the UFC to make a belt for guys that can't win the actual title, so take that, boxing. Even with the original BMF Masvidal-Diaz fight, you have Canelo sitting on a couch being told when he can go out because they have to wait for this fight to be over with. And these guys combined have 30 losses. You can't tell me boxing's running things. And with the prospects and undercards in boxing, like, who cares? You're not following. Paddy Pimlet's considered a star in MMA.
Hello, look, my dog's just had like a sloppy shit outside.
And he isn't going on some reality TV show and fighting influencer YouTubers like Tommy Fury to get his name out there. He came up on MMA, and he's destined to get KO'd any minute now. I probably made that sound like a bad thing, but I mean that in a good way. Like, it brings more to the undercards. There's more characters, personalities. Him beefing with Topuria, even him beefing with Ariel. Like, the amount of content it brings in the community. Though the UFC has its own politics behind it, I think the things I just mentioned are key to why it's nowhere near as bad as boxing. You don't have to have these guys avoiding all the tough matchups their entire career so that they can't lose, and then hear talks of retirement like Joshua after his losses. No, he should have retired after that cringy Usyk speech.
This guy to beat me tonight.
And again, don't get me wrong, boxing's a great sport. It's cool and all. I mean, it's the highest level of hands being thrown. Maybe besides for heavyweights, since Ngannou can just stroll in and embarrass the champion at. But you know what? Styles make fights, and that's something in itself that makes both these sports so fun to watch. And I will say this, when it comes to boxing, again, as much as it's the highest level of hands being thrown, it's always going to improve over time. At the end of the day, we've kind of seen what there is to see. It's a boxer versus boxer. I know I'm simplifying it, but when you compare it to MMA, you can have a striker versus striker matchup and end up seeing something like two glory kickboxers look like two drunk guys wrestling. You can have a wrestler versus another wrestler, and then their wrestling just cancels each other out, so they spend 25 minutes on the feet, kickboxing. Sloppy as hell, but I mean, it's wholesome fun. Wrestler versus jiu-jitsu guy, and then the wrestler just stops it from going on the ground, so the jiu-jitsu guy just lays there hoping he'd go down with him. Or you could be a jiu-jitsu guy with no striking and wrestling, and at that point, you're fucked. You got the classic wrestler versus striker, or in this case, the BMF, when Usman blasted the sweat off Masvidal's head, sending him into the Shadow Realms, and funnily enough, Masvidal having done that to a wrestler in Askren.
You there, you and me, we shouldn't be here.
Which I like to call the Styles Mate matchups circle of life, which I believe you're only going to truly find within MMA. And as much as boxing may have a higher potential skill reach to ceiling compared to MMA as of right now, I just see more room for improvement while it's already more exciting and more creative. You got guys submitting themselves, backflips, some of the lowest IQ moments you'll ever see, some of the funniest Johnny Walker knockouts you'll ever see. Whatever you need, MMA's got it. And I think I'll leave it on that. I could go on, but I think that's enough boxing slander for one day. Lastly, I'm just going to say, at the end of the day, this video is just my opinion and perspective as a UFC MMA fan on why boxing's such a pain to watch and a chore to remotely even follow. At no point am I trying to say you can't be a boxing fan. You can be a fan of whatever you want. Even at MMA, John Jones has a fan base. So what do I know? In fact, I want to see boxing at its best. I want to see more Ngannou boxing events because I want to see Dana announce some of the craziest cards to bury that shit. So if you made it this far spitefully watching as a boxing fan that hates everything MMA and hates this video included, I don't really know what to tell you. Cope. I don't give a fuck. For all my MMA fans out there, we've done it. MMA's won. Thanks to the PFL fighter Ngannou.
What the fuck is that?